Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today, I want to have a little conversation, although that's kind of weird to say because I'm conversing with nobody, just outwardly, and hoping to get responses back in the comments, maybe, or maybe you just want to listen to me ramble about a topic for a few minutes. I'm not sure how long I'm going to ramble on and on, but yeah, that's it. I want to have a little conversation of sorts with nobody in particular and everybody all at once in a way. So this topic, conversation, monologue, if you will, if you haven't read the comments or seen the thumbnail or however you get the information to click on the video and watch it, I want to talk about Grail Games and collectibles, specifically kind of the ones I have in my collection, the reason I've got them, the reason I think they're kind of Grail-ish or collectibles, depend on the situation. And I would call most of what I have, in a way, more collectible than Grail game. And then I want to talk about a couple of Grail games and or collectibles, however you want to call it, that I still would like to get my hands on. So that's kind of the nature of this conversation, this talk. And I do, again, want to see your comments below about what you think about what I pulled out of my collection to consider a collectible Grail game, and any other questions or comments that I may arise as I ramble on and on about this topic to myself. So that being said, the first thing I want to talk about is, what is a Grail game? Well, a Grail game is a game that, like the Holy Grail, is hard to acquire. It's not something that's readily available for whatever reason, and therefore people are, chasing it down, going after this Grail of theirs, or white whale, if you want to get the Moby Dick reference in too, but more commonly known as Grail games. And I do have a few that, I consider, I guess, Grail games for some, or maybe just collectibles in a way, because they're not super hard to get a hold of. But the first one I want to bring up is a Grail game in two different regards, because this game's been out of print for a while and lots of people want it. It's not easy to come by and usually costs quite a bit. I spent probably too much on my copy even, but I really wanted it. And then the second part, well, it's literally got the Grail in the game because it's Shadows over Camelot, game that I really enjoy. One of my favorites. Was able to borrow it from my library and play it and really enjoyed it. And then went ahead and got my hands on it. It's a great semi-cooperative game where you're going around as the Knights of the Round Table, trying to complete various quests to win the game. However, one person amongst you could be a traitor. That's where the semi-cooperative comes in. It's a fun game, especially if you're into kind of the Arthur theme, or if you like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which is where me and my game group usually goes with it, bringing those references in. But I'm very happy to have my hands on a copy of Shadows over Camelot, one of my more prized possession board games for sure, and one I really enjoy playing as much as collecting and just having own it. The next topic I want to talk about is, I guess, Grail games for some. I was in Germany for 9 years, so for me, I ordered them on Amazon or went to a local game store or whatever the case is. But I know some of these games are just hard to get, or they just cost so much to get over back in the States, and that's where I'm at now. So hopefully I don't run into more of these in the future where I wish I could have got my hands on it and just didn't. But two games I do have that were not hard for me to grab at all, but I know others have talked about a lot. Hamster Roll, fun dexterity game. I know people really struggle in getting a hold of this one in the States, and I really enjoy it. It's a fun, quick playing, definitely filler dexterity game. But I'm happy to own a copy of this, even though I had not heard about it until I was seeing other people's Grail game lists, and then I was like, I could get this easily. It was no trouble for me to get my hands on this, and I'm glad to have it and bring it back to the States so I can introduce it to people who might not otherwise get a chance. And the other one, I guess, is still, for some reason, despite Friedman Freese games being semi-available in the States, this one apparently has not made its way over here. I just like the theme of this one. I didn't have any pick up and delivers. and I like sloths. So as soon as I heard that I could get my hands on this one in Germany and probably nowhere else or harder elsewhere, I definitely ordered myself a copy. My box got a little banged up in my trip overseas. One of the few that actually took a hit in the trip. So I'm happy with that. And, it's just unfortunate that it was this one that got a little bit banged up. But still a fun game. I don't play it a whole lot. I don't love this game, but I love having the game because now I know it's hard to get. I'm going to keep my hands on it. Kind of as a collectible that we might play from time to time if we're in the mood for a kind of silly pick up and deliver style game. But Fast Laws, I really enjoy having this one in my collection now that I know how hard it is to get, at least as of this recording. All right, the next collection I want to talk about is more about collectible games. Games that you can get places, not too complex, not too hard to get your hands on these, but specifically these versions, because sometimes game companies go out of business, and getting your hands on an original version of the game of a company that's out of business is something worth having. And therefore, I have the TMG, who is out of business, version of Orleans, one of my favorite games. I really enjoy having this game in particular, but the fact that I got it before TMG went out of business, or got a TMG version of the game, I really enjoy that. I don't remember who republished this one, but good game. I've got, I think, one or two other TMG games on my shelf. I didn't bother pulling them all out, but defunct TMG, got my hands on one of my favorite games. Another game I really enjoy, and only got it because I knew Pearl was going out of business and I heard good things about it, is Troy. And this is the Ladies of Troy. I have the base game in this box, takes up less room on the shelf. It all fits. But Pearl Games now out of business, and I'm not sure if Troy. I don't know. I can't ever say this game name. I'm not sure if this one's been picked up yet, so this might be one of the ones that becomes really hard to get. I didn't have too much trouble getting a hold of both the regular copy, a little more trouble getting a hold of the expansion here, but not a whole lot of trouble ordering it. But I don't know how long that's going to last. That it's relatively easy to get your hands on these specific games. And another game that I want to talk about, I didn't pull out because I just thought about it again right now, is a game that was a super Grail game of mine, and I got a hold of it after it had gone out of print, and now it's been reprinted with all the expansions in one box. I've talked about this before, but Russian Railroads is a game I really enjoyed, struggled to get my hands on it, finally got my hands on it, and then found out a couple months later that they were releasing Ultimate Railroads, all the expansion, everything in one box. I still only have the base game. I still would love to get my hands on Ultimate Railroads. I think even if I do, I'll probably still hold on to my version of Russian Railroads because it meant a lot to me to be able to track it down and get my hands on it, even though now that's not as much trouble. And then finally, the last collectible game I want to talk about is a game that's easy to get a hold of, but for me, just because of all the upgrades and everything I put into it with the nice fancy box, is Dinosaur Island with the Totally Wicked expansion. Everything's in here in this nice expensive wood box. I just really enjoy this game. I wish I remember the company that does these wood boxes now. It escapes me at the moment. But I saw the wood boxes, and this is something I just bought myself to treat myself to something I knew I was going to keep on the shelf for a while anyway. I really still want to stain this box and make it really pop. But something like this, I consider at this point, it is a collectible. I don't play the game very much anymore. We do enjoy the game. My friends that have played it, we've all liked it. It's just not something I pulled out a whole lot recently. Definitely something I should pull out again. But for me, just getting this nice fancy box makes it a collectible item on my shelf, even though the game itself is easily available. Which leads me into another thought of conversation is, what about these big boxes behind me? Do you consider those collectibles when you've got the big box of everything for a game because you really enjoy the game, or because you just got the Kickstarter all-in bundle that had everything with all the expansions blindly because you've heard a lot about the game, such as in the case of Everdell there, where I've got everything. Basically, I went to it blind. I felt like it was a good deal. I did the same with Castles of Burgundy, that big box, which is currently right now it's either active or will be active shortly, re-release of the big box. And if it's still, I haven't looked at it, I own it, so I'd have no reason to look into the new campaign. But if it's priced just as well, it was well worth the value for me. I really love that game. But Do you consider those type of things collectibles at this point? A box that, either was a one-time release, or like in the case of the Wingspan big box, which I have, I think that's still available, or they're reprinting it over and over again. That way everybody who wants it can get a hold of it. Do you consider those type of things collectibles when it's just the big box of everything collection? It's there in the name. I don't know if I consider them collectibles. I'm not saying I wouldn't be willing to sell off some of these in the future. And that's kind of what I think about collectibles. Collectibles are things that I just have for the sake of owning and having and collecting, versus, it's a big collection box that maybe I'll move at some point. But right now I'm not moving them because they are a big box of everything that I haven't fully explored, or I just really, really enjoy the games anyway, which is why I have the big box of everything. So what are your thoughts on that? Big box of everything, a collectible, or just a big box of game? All right, enough about what I have currently. Let's look at what I wish I had. Of course, Glory to Rome is the Grail game that most people mention when they talk about Grail Games. It's a game that it's a card game of some sort. I've not played it. I've not seen it. I only know about it, what I've heard about it. But a card game that apparently is an outstanding card deck builder card game that has been out of print for years with no reprints in sight. So it's a big Grail game for a bunch of board gamers, especially those who have played it. Apparently it's that good, but you can't get your hands on it anymore without spending lots and lots of money buying it, secondhand. And then Shakespeare, another game, I guess that's been out of print, or is just really hard to get. I'm sure if I tracked it down, I could get my hands on it. I'd probably pay more than I would like to for the game. So that's why I kind of haven't, but I just like the theme. I'm a big theater geek. Shakespeare, I really enjoy Shakespeare. So hearing about this game, and I heard you gotta get the expansion too, it really adds to it. But I've only heard great things about the game from those who have played it, and it's just one of those games that is hard to get. So that's my current biggest Grail game. Sure, Glory to Rome, that's just one that intrigues me because of the nature of, no, it's impossible to get. Kind of like Shadows over Camelot, but at least with that one I played it and know that I wanted it. And then Shakespeare, a game that I'd love to get my hands on and play to see if it's something I do want to track down. But first I got to track down a copy of it to play before I go spending a bunch of money on it, hoping it's good. But that's it. That's it for this conversation. That's all I wanted to kind of talk about. I wanted to just hit on Grail Games, collectibles, what I have in my collection that I feel like, wow, I'm glad I got my hands on that when I could or when I did, et cetera, et cetera. So let me know in the comments below what you think about Grail Games collections. What are your favorite collectible games that you're happy you have in your collection? And what are your Grail games that you're still seeking out? Do I have them? Maybe if you're close by, you could play it and see if it's worth you tracking down and spending your money on. If you have Shakespeare and you live in Colorado, let me know below, and maybe we can meet up and I can play that one with you. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe below if you haven't, and I will see you next time. Bye.